In an important victory against censorship, Isabel Vaughan-Spruce has been awarded £13,000 and an apology from the police for her arrest after silently praying outside an abortion clinic. Are we soon to be subject to all else thought police? Although free thought triumphed in this case, Ms Vaughan-Spruce has highlighted the sinister future that this type of action could create. As this case proves, there has been an obvious clampdown on certain points of view. Indeed, Labour is considering a ban on silent prayer outside abortion clinics. Well, I'm joined now by Isabel Vaughan-Spruce herself, as well as Lorcan Price, her barrister and legal counsel for the Alliance Defending Freedom of Speech. Isabel, thank you very much for joining me. Although you've won, this has been a very stressful process, hasn't it, from beginning to end, and taken many months?
Yeah, I mean, clearly I'm delighted with the result and that the police have, taken some ownership of the fact that they've been treating me disgracefully for so long. But like you say, it's 20 months plus since this first started in December 2022, when I was first arrested. Then obviously had to go to court, a second arrest, and even after that, various tickets given to me by the police. So it's really gone on for so long now. And I think, it's been quite a shock to myself and others that something so Orwellian could still happen in the 21st century for such a prolonged period of time.
Yes, because the police were trying to work out what you were thinking in your mind, weren't they? They didn't have any evidence that you were doing anything. They had to say to you, are you praying?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that when I'm silently praying on the street, there's other people on the street that have also stopped. Somebody might be having a cigarette, somebody might be, waiting for a friend or waiting for a taxi. The police don't go up to any of these people and ask them, are they praying or what are they thinking about? But because some of the locals know that I'm pro-life and will contact the police have, supported them and helped to kind of enforce this, quite a spirit of division in the area. So, the pro-lifers are almost feeling like second-class citizens in that locality now because of the way they've been treated.
And this comes back to the issue we were discussing a week or so ago about two-tier policing, because it seems that Christians are more likely to be moved on for Christian activities than perhaps some people are of other religions. Does that concern you?
Very much so. And I'm really glad that, people are beginning to wake up to two-tier policing, because pro-lifers and other Christians have been at the brunt of this for a long time. I know when I have been praying outside abortion centres, just to say, I don't even ever take any posters or placards. None of my volunteers do. We've just got some leaflets of help that we would offer people. That's prior to the buffer zone. But we would be spat at and sworn at and assaulted by locals, not by people using the abortion centre. And the police would do nothing. They would turn a blind eye at best. Otherwise, they would tell us, well, if you don't want to be assaulted, don't come out of your house. That's the kind of responses we would be getting from the police. And yet, like I say, within 5 minutes of being there silently praying, the police are there, 6 of them, to tell me that my prayers are an offence. If that's not two-tier policing, I don't know what is.
Well, thank you very much, Isabel. I just want to turn to Lorcan, because, Lorcan, this has been an important victory and the work you've done has been instrumental in it. How concerned are you that the law may be tightened even further? So although this battle has been won, the war is far from won.
Yes, that is a real concern, Jacob. The Home Secretary is in a position now where she may decide to pass further regulations under the Public Order Act, criminalising on a national level silent prayer and the type of activities Isabel was engaged in. We're also very concerned about other cases that we're involved in. In Bournemouth, for example, there are 2 prosecutions ongoing there of similar type activities. And more generally then, Christians such as street preachers in Bristol are being really subjected to, I think, very intrusive, heavy-handed policing. And it underscores the problem that you've mentioned, which is a real perception that we now have 2 tiers of policing in this country, and that certain groups or points of view are more vigorously and indeed heavy-handedly policed than others. And when you enter that type of situation, it really does lead to a loss of public confidence in the legal system, and that is a very serious problem for any democracy.
But is it the police's fault? Because haven't these laws been passed by Parliament because Parliament was concerned about women seeking a service that is, for better or worse, legal in this country, and that they shouldn't be obstructed when trying to receive it?
Yes, obstruction and harassment have been long-standing offences under the public order legislation. However, this law goes further. In the last Parliament, the a new Public Order Act was introduced, which now criminalises influencing inside these so-called buffer zones. And the police are put in an intolerable position, really, in trying to interpret how these laws work in practice. But the way in which we've seen them enforce the law has been very concerning under existing laws. And I do fear that that will get worse, particularly where you have a Home Secretary that seems to be against free speech.
I was just going to ask, in terms of success you've just had, how difficult were your negotiations with the police? Were they willing to accept they'd made a mistake and move on from that, or did you have quite a battle over this 20-month period?
This has been quite a battle, as Isabel has outlined. It's one of these situations where the process is a form of punishment in itself. We've had an apology already with the way this investigation was conducted. Isabel has already been acquitted by the courts. And this additional action then was for damages, considering the way she was arrested, searched and detained totally outrageously for a non-violent offence, as they saw it. So I think it was very disproportionate. And I mean, we are, of course, happy that in the end the right conclusion was reached. But it is troubling that we have to go to this length to reach that correct conclusion.
Well, Isabel and Lorcan, thank you so much. Congratulations on this important victory for free speech. Well, I was talking to Benji Slade, and the mail Moggs have been coming in, but as promised, making his GB News debut, I have a special guest to read the mail Moggs. Sixtus, what have people sent in?
Janet says, I have a son who doesn't do much normally, working from home. If Sir Benjamin needs an ear, he can have him.
So Janet's giving her son to Sir Benji. I'm not going to give you away. Have we got another one? What else has come in?
Alexander, Jacob, what it your full title? Considering your father was in the House of Lords and you remain a privacy counsellor.
Well, I think from now on I shall be known as the father of Sixtus after that brilliant reading. But actually, my full title is the Right Honours of Privy Council, the Honours the son of a peer, Sir because I got given a knighthood, Jacob Rees-Mogg. That's the whole gamut of it. Well, thank you to my special guest. Well, we've been talking about racist libraries and the prison system, letting prisoners out earlier, and the mail Moggs have come in. Nigel says, are electric vehicles racist? Look where the ingredients of the batteries are sourced. And on working from home, Dave makes a really interesting point. He's taken up my challenge to ring HMRC. Hi, Jacob. I had the pleasure of calling HMRC in the last couple of weeks. Over 2 hours and 45 minutes on the call, over 2 hours on hold, 5 agents and the most laborious music system on hold that was worse than Chinese water torture wanted to throw my phone through the window. 5th agent could not understand why the 1st agent could not have solved my problem. HMRC, get back to work in your office. We were talking about working from home and the public sector and productivity, and I've had some excellent mail Moggs come in. Graham says, and this is an important point, IR35 means we can't claim hotel and other expenses, so working from home is the only viable way to make ends meet. That's a good point. Alan, no amount of money will motivate productivity. Only application and a will of personal esteem is needed. Personal drive, Alan, I think you're right. Oh, this is a lovely message. A certain gentleman called Richard Tice has emailed me on Mail Mogg. Dear Jacob, I vividly remember our very first Reform UK conference back in 2021 in Manchester. From Manchester to Birmingham, Derby to London, our journey to save Britain has brought us back to the iconic NEC. Come to the conference. Well, Richard, what a very thoughtful invitation. I will think carefully about whether I'm able to come, as Nigel was very welcome at the Tory party conference last year.